Hey everybody, Motorpool at 59 here. I'll talk a little bit about the Libertarians. I have been listening to the Libertarians talk about how different they are and how they would change things and they would do this and they would do that. I've been listening to that since the 80s. A Libertarian has never even come close to being able to give anyone a fight. I saw an interview with Joergensen, and she has a lot of good things to say, and Libertarians usually do have a lot of good things to say, but they have some cockamamie ideas that they're going to have to change their stance on before anyone will ever take them seriously. They talk about the things they would do if they were president, but like with Donald Trump, who said he would do this and he would do that when he got elected, he found out that there just isn't a lot a president can actually get done because you still have to deal with Congress. You don't get to just go in there and say, let's do this. You are going to be up there battling the good old boy network. And that is why Donald Trump is disliked by a lot of Republicans in Congress, is because he's threatening their way of life. He is putting a damper on the good old boy network. He is calling them out and they have no answer. And that's the exact same thing that would happen to a libertarian. They would get in there and realize that there are things they just can't do, no matter how good their intentions are and no matter how hard they tried. They would get in there and they realize that they can't just stop helping send military aid to foreign countries. And they can't just do this and they can't just do that. They still have to deal with Congress. For the record, I agree with them as far as getting our troops out of other countries. Screw those places. To hell with Germany and France. All they ever do is talk crap about us. But that's never going to happen. We're going to keep things just like they are right now. And no libertarian nor a Republican like Donald Trump, who was an outsider and came in thinking he might be able to take care of this, is going to be able to accomplish that. Now, Donald Trump has been able to stop a few things and make a few changes, but for the most part, things are just like they were. He's still spending just as much as any other president ever has, and stopping spending was one of the things he ran on, that he was going to stop spending like that. But back to the Libertarian, one of the platforms, or one of the planks, I should say, in their platform is that they want to legalize drugs. All drugs. I watched the Joergensen thing on John Stossel's channel. I'll link that video in here if you want to watch it. It's about 30 minutes long. But she has a lot of good things to say, but she still stands by the Libertarian idea of legalizing drugs, all drugs. And their justification for that, and I've heard other people try to justify it this way too, if we don't have so many drug laws, we won't have so much drug crime. And I hear people say that, and it just, I end up having to wipe the bottom of my jaw off because it hit the floor, because I just don't believe people can be that blind. Joergensen is not stupid. She is obviously a very intelligent woman, very well spoken. Oh my gosh, oh wow, very impressive. But to hear someone say something like, all we have to do to decrease drug crime is get rid of the drug laws and make drugs legal. This woman has never been around junkies or cokeheads or addicts of any kind. I did a piece a while back about how there's no such thing as nonviolent crime, and so I'm talking and the drug world is really one of the specific things I talked about. These people, these addicts, are going to kick your doors in and steal your shit to get their dope. They're going to steal your cars. They're going to mug your daughters and your wives and your husbands. They're going to do it. It's going to happen. And the more of them that are out on the streets, the more often that's going to happen. And these people who are sitting in jail now because they got busted with a couple of kilos of pot or a couple of ounces of coke or heroin or whatever their drug of choice is, the people that are sitting in there because that's what they got busted for will now be out on the streets committing violent crimes to get the money to get their drugs, because people like that can't work. They can't pass a drug test, for one thing, and they're not interested in working. They just want to get high. Addicts aren't interested in being functioning members of society. I was a drug addict for about 6 or 7 years. I was into meth, and I was a functioning addict. I never got in trouble at work. I didn't get fired and lose my job. I didn't lose anything over my drug addiction except a long-term relationship. When I got clean, my partner didn't, and that caused our relationship to fail. So I know what I'm talking about. I dealt with a lot of those people, and a lot of the guys that I used to work with, a lot of people that I ran around with, their lives were absolutely destroyed by this, and they all began to engage in all sorts of, most of them petty crimes, some of them violent crimes, and a couple of them have been killed, and a couple of them have died of overdoses and drug and alcohol related issues. And here is a party that wants to make all that stuff legal. It's a very, very, very dangerous idea, and I'm astounded that intelligent people think it's a good idea. If you've never been around addicts, if you've never been an addict, you really don't understand it. But some people have been around it enough to realize the danger in just legalizing everything. Another thing they believe in is open borders and unlimited immigration. And they don't differentiate between legal and illegal. You can never really pin them down on it. I've heard libertarians in the past actually say, what's the difference? And their thinking is that that's what we did before the 1920s. You know, we'd let anybody in. Well, we have this thing called overpopulation. We have this thing called there's not enough jobs and money for all these people. And they dismiss the idea that some of these people are violent criminals. And they say, well, there are studies that show that most of these people aren't violent criminals. The numbers don't support the idea that many of these people are violent criminals. It doesn't have to be a whole lot of them. Look what 10% of radical Islam has done to the world around us in the last 20 years. And then tell me that small numbers don't count. If you have 1 million people come across the border and only 100,000 of them are gang members and people committing violent crimes, that's an enormous number. It's an enormous number. Who's going to feed these people? That's another thing. They said that, oh, these people just come over to freeload. Well, there's a 5-year waiting list. That doesn't always work. As a matter of fact, it rarely ever works. These people usually find ways to exploit the system. And there are actually people in the United States who help them do it. Nonprofits who take these illegal immigrants in and teach them how to exploit the system, teach them how to find the loopholes to exploit them. And I'm not saying that all these people want to stay there or all these people do that, but when you have illegal immigrants in the United States and you let a flood of people come across, the cost, the price of labor continues to drop because they're taking these low-paying jobs. They'll work for just about anything. Drive around these neighborhoods, middle class, upper class, it doesn't really matter, and see how many gardeners are white. See how many people go over there where they're building homes in a new development, and see how many people over there you see that aren't Hispanic. These people, with the house that I live in was built by illegal aliens. The contractor wasn't an illegal alien, and the developer wasn't, and I don't know if he was legal or not. He called himself a Persian, which means he's from Iran. And the general contractor he had doing the basic building, there was 2 of them, and one of them was a Mexican guy, but he didn't even have an accent. He was an American. And the other guy was a white guy. And I used to notice that they changed all the time. There were 3 or 4 different crews that rotated through just building my house, and it only took about 3 months to build this house. And that's what happens. These people will work for anything, and there are these people like my developer and the contractor who are going to exploit that. And can you really blame them? I mean, hey, if they have the opportunity to make another 20 or 30%, hey, that's the American way. But open borders and unlimited immigration, even if it's legal, is a problem. That is problematic for the United States of America, especially for the border states, because once these people come across the border, most of them don't get any further than California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and some of the Gulf states. They're the ones that suffer the most for it. And I have no problem with legal immigration as long as there are numbers put on it. And it's one of the things you can never pin the Democrats down about when they talk about immigration. When they say, okay, how many should we let in? Well, they don't have a number. Give me a number. Maybe it's reasonable. Maybe I'll agree with you. But the Libertarians, 100%, everybody, come on in. And that's problematic. But anyway, those are the 2 biggest problems I have with Libertarians. Behind that is the fact that they don't understand that when they get to the presidency, they're not going to be able to accomplish the things they thought they'd be able to accomplish, because they still have to deal with the Republicans and the Democrats. And as long as the good old boy network is still holding hands like it is today, things just aren't going to get done. Maybe they should start at the grassroots level instead of trying to conquer the presidency. Get 40, 50, 60 members of the Libertarian Party in Congress. Even that is going to be really hard to do, especially over the next 2 election cycles, say. But until they stop talking about legalizing all drugs and 100% open borders and no limitation on immigrants, I don't think anyone's going to take them seriously. What do you think? Are you a libertarian? Do you believe that drugs should be legal and we shouldn't have limitations on illegal immigration? Let me know in the comments below. Shoot me an email at motopoet59@gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe, click on the bell if you want to be notified of future content. We'll see you all later.